deepest bowels of your imagination.
Actually, he's from Canada there, bud.
From the famed Hotter Show Studios, this is The Hotter Show.
What is up, everybody? We are Rolling Audio here today on episode 91 of The Hotter Show. What is going on? I hope you're doing fan-freaking-tastic. Thank you so much for tuning in and clicking that play button on this New Year's Resolutions podcast here on The Hotter Show. Definitely have a lot to talk about. We'll talk a little bit about New Year's resolutions, kind of the different New Year's resolutions that I've seen people attempt to undertake this year. A little bit about, obviously, New Year's resolutions I've done in the past. A little bit about my New Year's resolutions this year. And I go very in-depth the last half hour or so about my New Year's resolution this year. And my goal and why I'm exactly telling you guys. Very, very excited for the new year. Very excited for the Hotter Show and for all the things we're going to do. I talk about that as well in the podcast. You guys get to hear. Obviously, you heard the intro again, which I'm still hyped about that. Makes me feel like a legit podcaster. You know, it makes me feel. Some people have said, you know, like it's pretty radio, and I'm like, yeah, but like it's cool. You know, it's not like I'm doing it and I'm like, yes, I am a radio broadcaster. Ha 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 ha. This is the Hotter Show live. We're gonna play some music. Oh, what do you think, Tony? Oh yeah, okay, buddy. We're gonna play. I don't know where I'm going with that, but typical Hotter Show. Go off on a segue city. I have no idea where I'm going. But you know, it's just, I think it kind of brings everything together, and having the new Jaybird spot, I think is very exciting. Of course, there is the new discount as well from Jaybird, which is very exciting. So if you guys definitely want to check out Jaybird, now is the time to do it. I have all the information and stuff in the spot, which is usually about half an hour into the show. So you can go check that out. Very excited. I have some more things I'm working on heading into this year. One thing in particular I am so stoked on, guys. You'll understand when I tell you I'm probably going to reveal it on the episode 100. As I say in the podcast, I'm not 100% sure what exactly we're going to do, probably a live cast. But there's some cool things I'm working on as well for the 100th episode. Because it's the 100th episode, you know. I had ideas for it in the past. I talked a little bit about how I might do a roast or something, but it's unrealistic to think something like that's going to happen. I had thought about doing like just an interview podcast where I have someone basically host the show and interview me. But I think, you know, a Q&A is a lot more fun. A Q&A live cast is a lot more fun. And as well as the other things I'm working on. On top of that, also, the t-shirts. T-shirts kind of fell to the wayside because everyone who ordered one from me and who gave me the money and everything up front and all that kind of stuff has received their t-shirts, or I'm holding on to them because they requested to. But I do still have some t-shirts left over, and they kind of fell to the wayside given the fact that it was Christmas and everything. But if you would like a Hotter Show t-shirt, please hit me up and let me know. I have 4 t-shirts left currently, of course. I have a 1 large, I have 2 medium, and I have 1 extra large as well. So the t-shirts, of course, are $20, so be sure to hit me up and let me know if you would like one. Again, I have a 1 extra large, I have 1 large, and I have 2 mediums left. So very excited for that. Probably not going to do t-shirts again for a while. Because there's a lot of other stuff I want to work on. And like I said, guys, a lot of cool stuff coming for the Hotter Show. The gaming stuff on the YouTube's going well. I'm very happy with how it's being received. You know, a lot of people have said they've actually really enjoyed them because it's something different. Having a visual, kind of like a visual while I'm talking about stuff. I'm definitely going to do more of those in the future. I have so many ideas. I would love to do some kind of retro style gaming ones with my N64. I would love to do, obviously, tons of more PS4 games are probably going to be the main format I do it in. Just because that's the easiest. I can literally record it all right on my PS4 and then upload it to YouTube. I'm probably not going to get into the more extensive gaming stuff on YouTube because there's so much of it on YouTube. I'm more doing it for fun. I'm doing it for me mainly, just so that I feel like I'm doing something more productive when I'm gaming. But I have some fun ideas. I have some fun ideas with Skyrim, actually. that I'm probably going to start working on the next couple of weeks. So be sure to keep an eye out for that if you are a fan of Skyrim. And if there's any games you'd like to see me play and kind of narrate as I play, let me know. I know that Emily wants to play videos where I receive people really enjoyed those. So I'm probably going to have to do more of those in the future. I would love to have some of my buddies over to do some stuff as well. So we'll see what happens. But a lot of exciting stuff happening on the Harder Show. I'm very excited for you guys to hear this episode today. Really hope you guys enjoy it. Of course, we're talking New Year's resolutions and all that kind of thing. Let's get into it. Alright guys, so we're talking New Year's resolutions today, a topic I think most people can relate to, given that we are now 2 weeks into January. It's pretty interesting. Everyone always talks about New Year's resolutions coming up to the new year and how they're going to do stuff to better themselves and blah, 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 blah. But I figured it'd be interesting to sit down and talk about that. Maybe talk a little bit about New Year's resolutions, kind of where they started and that kind of thing, starting off. New Year's resolutions, it was a tradition that's mainly in the Western Hemisphere. And it kind of, basically, it started off more from a religious standpoint. The Babylonians made promises to their gods at the start of each year that they would return borrowed objects and pay their debts. The Romans began each year by making promises to the god Janus, for whom the month of January is named. In the medieval era, the knights took the peacock vow at the end of the Christmas season each year to reaffirm their commitment to chivalry. And it goes on and on. Like it's mostly known in religious standpoints. So basically, you're going to start off the new year, or you're going to head into the new year making a promise to God or whatever gods and so on that you believe in, that you're going to make a commitment to better yourself. And I think that's an admirable thing. I think it's something that most people can relate to. I know that me personally, heading into the new year, sometimes I make New Year's resolutions, sometimes I don't. I haven't the last couple of years. I just kind of basically made promises. It's kind of almost in a way like, speaking from the religious standpoint as well, it's similar to Lent. If you guys are familiar with that at all in Christianity faith, basically it's you're gonna give something up. So it could be, hey, for at least today or a week, or I don't know the exact timeline behind it, but basically I'm like, hey, we're going to give up, say I'm going to give up drinking beer for Lent or something like that. So if you head into the new year and you say, hey, you know what? Probably the most popular one is the fact that people head into the new year and they say, you know what? I want to get healthy. I want to make an effort to better myself physically. And I think that's a very admirable thing to do. But it doesn't matter what it is. Heading into the new year, if you want to better yourself, you had a crappy year, or you want to make a difference in your life, whether it's just being more productive, which I think is something that most people can basically get better at. I know me personally, I'm almost recording this in a way to kind of check myself, in the sense of, I know that doing this podcast has been something that's been wonderful the last year, and I'm so happy that I'm back doing it now again. I only took about, give or take, it was about 2 weeks off. And it was funny how lazy I was during those 2 weeks. I got all the stuff that I wanted to get done. And as time goes on, you guys will see what exactly that stuff is. But, it's pretty amazing how I didn't have that, I got to go record a podcast right now. Or, I need to do this so that I have time later to do a podcast or whatever. It was just like, I just sat around and I did nothing. And I think that's a very unhealthy thing to do. And it's something I did a lot of last year in my free time when I wasn't podcasting. This podcast definitely helps me be more productive and helps me stay busy and not just sit around and play video games all day, which, don't get me wrong, I love sitting down by my damn video games, okay? So since I got the PS4, it has been like a video game central over at my house, even though, this podcast still is going to take up a lot of my free time because it's my main hobby in that. It's still pretty funny how something like that can happen. And I wasn't really doing a lot of gaming, and then I got the PS4, and it's like, whoa. As you guys probably could tell from the YouTube stuff I've been doing of gaming and that kind of thing. But it's interesting being more productive. Basically, I picked some of the most popular New Year's resolutions, I guess, that I've seen people, even just on my own Facebook, and people in my life have kind of made the commitment to, and being more productive. It can be, you're saying, hey, I'm gonna, instead of coming home and sitting watching TV for 2 hours after a long day of work, I'm gonna go cut the grass, or I'm gonna go clean the bathroom or something. And then after I'm done all that kind of stuff, I'm going to sit down and relax a little bit because I've earned it. Not saying that after a long day of work, you haven't earned your time to sit down and be relax and be lazy, so to speak. Not that I think taking time to relax is being lazy. Unless you do it in accession, like I was during my vacation. It's funny. Sometimes you look back and you go, man, like I had my my little vacation over the Christmas break, and a lot of the time I was able to spend it with Sam, and that was awesome. But the days that I wasn't with Sam, like I said, guys, I did nothing, absolutely nothing. And it's just funny talking about being more productive. It can be something even like, something like for me personally, being more productive is kind of one of those things I said to myself, you know what, this year I'm going to be more productive. I'm going to work on the podcast more. I'm going to work on my YouTube stuff more. I'm going to make sure that, goddamn, my apartment's cleaned up more, that, I'm using my time more productively at work, and just be more productive. It doesn't necessarily have to mean that you're working longer days or you're spending more time doing things. It's using the time that you have for something good and productive, and not sitting around playing video games all day, and not sitting around drinking beer or smoking up, or just sitting. One thing that always got me is people who just they'll get home from work and they'll just like sit around and smoke. Like, I'm like, what are you doing? Oh, I was hanging out, man. And I'm like, what's going on? And that's not a shot at anybody. It's just me personally. I'm like, man, like, how do you do that? Like, how do you just sit and smoke and not do something or whatever? But that's just me personally. But being more productive is definitely a very admirable New Year's resolution. Like I said, it's more me personally. It's something I've also told myself I want to do. But I'll get into me more a little later, because I do have one very big New Year's resolution that definitely is going to be a hard one for me, but I think I'll be able to do it, and I might need your guys' help and support a little bit, but we'll get into that. But something as simple as, I see so many people heading into this new year, and they're giving something up, whether it's they're going to quit smoking. Is a popular one this year that I've seen a lot of people kind of say, I'm going to quit smoking, or they're going to quit smoking weed, or they're going to quit drinking so much. I was talking to a guy, and he said to me a couple days after I was back from work, he said, man, my New Year's Eve night was rough. I got lost, and he said, I was all messed up. I was so drunk. I don't know if I want to do this anymore. And he was a younger guy than me. And I said, hey man, like, listen, if you feel like going out and drinking every night and, getting drunk to the point where you get lost in like Toronto or something, if you feel like that's too much, then, don't do it. It's very simple. And he said, well, I've made it my New Year's resolution to not drink anymore as much. And I said, that's great. That's awesome. And that's kind of what I wanted to get at today, that some people talk down to New Year's resolutions. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing to have a New Year's resolution, but it's not waiting until the new year necessarily to better yourself as like, that's the excuse. Oh, I'm going to stop drinking so much because it's New Year's, it's the New Year's resolution, and blah, 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 blah. But with this guy, he said, I've just decided that after New Year's, I want to do this year. So I said, okay, that's awesome. That's very admirable. I've seen a couple people who were not necessarily big potheads, but they were, enjoy the occasional bit of weed. I'm not judging anybody or anything here on the Harder Show, folks. Just because it's not my deal doesn't mean it's a bad thing. And I've seen on Facebook and just from talking to people, they're like, yeah, like, we're going to give it up this year just because I feel like it's making me lazy. I feel like it's making me kind of productive, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, cool, like, right on. That's awesome for you. It's, especially these individuals who kind of let it be their entire life. I don't think it's a bad thing to either quit it or, do it less heading into the new year. if you're someone who, probably the most popular thing in the new year is obviously giving up certain foods, working out more, all that kind of thing. That kind of all ties into being more productive. If you're sitting around doing nothing and you have a gym membership and you could be out working out, or you have time to work out, and that, like, man, do it. Like, go for it. Don't just sit around and go, oh, I should work out, because I'm the worst person for this. And this is one reason why I want to do this podcast, because I almost want to do this to check myself. Because my New Year's resolution this year, it's basically, one thing is I want to be more active. Like, way more active. I want to potentially join the gym. I didn't want to join the gym like right in January, because I feel like that's very cliche. Because I know it's not going to happen. There's some things I have to do first, I feel, to kind of prepare for that, to basically make myself healthier. And that's something that I think most people went into this year wanting to do. But even something on the lines of just wanting to work harder. Something that's interesting that I saw a couple people talk about, and some people I did talk about, is they want to start being more like outgoing and being more friendly and get more friends. And just, I thought that was very interesting. I said, well, what do you mean? Like, you want to be more outgoing? Like, you're friendly, you're outgoing. Like, yeah, but like, say I'm out somewhere and, I strike up a conversation, somebody strikes up a conversation with me. And, they're just like, I like won't talk to them, because it's just like, it makes me nervous and stuff. Or if I'm like at a party and someone's trying to chat me up, like, they're just trying to be buddies. And it's like, I won't talk to them. It takes a long time for, this person to basically chat with somebody and get to know them, that kind of thing. I said, well, that's interesting. So basically you want to head into the new year with making a active attempt to be more outgoing and talk with more people and just basically make more friends in that. And they're like, yeah, like, it's something different. I think that's very interesting. The fact that heading into the new year, most people, it's usually a lot of physical stuff. It's a lot of giving things up. It's a lot of, I'm going to work harder, and, I'm going to eat right and all this kind of stuff. But trying to better yourself as a person by doing something like that, and, saying, hey, I'm going to be more outgoing. I'm going to be more productive. I'm going to quit smoking or whatever. It's even someone who, I have a habit and people who know me are going to laugh when they hear me say this. I have a habit of, I can be a very angry and grumpy person. Some people will laugh when I say that. They're like, really? You grumpy? Like, I don't. And it's funny, especially near the end of last year, there was so much going on. There was so much negativity. Not necessarily in my life, but I found myself being more and more just angry and grumpy all the time. And I hated that about myself, and I'm not necessarily being cynical. It's something about myself that I was very aware of. I've always been aware that I'm a pretty grumpy dude for the most part, especially in the morning. My girlfriend can attest to that. And my buddies who knew me in high school can attest to that. I'm a pretty grumpy brother in the morning, or late at night. But I just went, you know what? No, like, I want to make it an active attempt to just not be so grumpy and to not let things bother me so much. Whether it's, just to tell you guys, I was sitting here and my interface was not working the way it was supposed to be, and I was getting very frustrated. And normally I would like be yelling at it and screaming at, you stupid effing thing, why don't you just work? Bad. I'd like freak out and start throwing it around. Like, I had little temper tantrums, and it's bad. It's something about myself I've never liked. And again, I'm not being cynical. There was a point to me saying this. And so I kind of went, you know what? No, take a deep breath. Let's readdress the situation. And I figured it out within a few seconds, whereas normally it would take me like an hour or two because I'd get so frustrated. So I guess it's not necessarily me not being an angry person or me trying to make an active attempt to not be such an angry person. It's not letting things bother me, even if it's something to do with, something at work, something happens, something breaks, or something's going on, a customer yells at me or whatever. It's not letting it bother me. And that's something that's it's hard. It's hard for me. I know it's hard for a lot of people to not let stuff bother them. But heading into the new year, making an active attempt to try and better yourself as a person, doing something like that, I think is, I know me personally, it's going to be tricky. That's not my main New Year's resolution this year, but it's definitely going to be tricky to make a active attempt to, not get so angry and be so grumpy all the time. And I think it's more something as simple as just reminding myself what I have. If I wake up one morning and, I'm not going to lie to you guys, I woke up this morning, I was pretty damn grumpy. I have no idea why. Just woke up on the wrong side of the bed, and Sam would always say to me, oh, it must be your time of the month or whatever. And I have these days where I wake up and I'm just a grumpy bugger, and it'll leave me as quickly as it'll hit me. And one moment I'll be slouching around and just, and then like a grumpy old man basically. And then, randomly I'll just like snap out of it and I'll be making jokes and laughing and stuff. But by then, like, people around me are already like, oh, like, TJ's in a bad mood. He's grumpy. Don't bother him or whatever. Like, this sucks. And I don't want that to be the perception. So it's this morning I woke up, was kind of in a grumpy, bad mood. And I just kind of like took a couple deep breaths and I was like, why am I grumpy? Goddamn, I have an amazing girlfriend who loves me. I have an amazing group of friends. I have an amazing family. I have this podcast that is a outlet for me to talk about whatever I want, to let things off my chest while trying not to be overly negative or cynical, of course. I have this awesome little side business. I have music. I have even video games. I have all this stuff in my life that I enjoy so much. I have wrestling that I love and is a great outlet for me as well. I have all these outlets and I have all these things that make me happy. Why am I so grumpy? And it can be something as simple as just, needing to get up and kind of stretch my legs and that. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I feel okay now. I don't know if it's just if I don't get a great night's sleep, I'm grumpy, or I don't know what it is, but it's making that active attempt to stop and take that deep breath and go, why am I so grumpy? Why am I so in such a bad mood today? Because you make that choice yourself. No matter what's going on in your life, you can make that active choice whether or not you want to be grumpy. And I know that's something heading into this year that I want to try and make sure I do or don't do, I guess, technically, heading into the new year. So if anyone notices I'm being grumpy, check me on it, because that's why I'm doing this podcast, so I can check myself on it. But it's interesting talking about like wanting to better yourself as a person, that heading into the new year. Even something as simple as you want to pick up a new skill. You're saying, hey, I've always wanted to learn how to drive stick. And you're like, my New Year's resolution this year is I want to learn how to drive stick, or I want to learn how to change my oil, or, I want to learn how to build a wall. Or it seems kind of funny to make something like that your New Year's resolution, but some people are so goal driven. Like, I know personally, I'm very goal driven when it comes to certain things. This podcast is a great example. I would always do it in stages of goals. I want to do this and I want to keep getting better till I get to episode 10. Then I want to do this and keep getting better until I get to episode 30. And then it was episode 50. And then episode 75. And then now, here we are, 91 episodes later. And I'm like, oh, damn. I guess the next goal is 100 episodes. And then after that, I have no idea what I'm going to do. So it's actively making sure that I have goals and that I want to get better. I said to myself, this year I want to make an effort to learn more about production, and I want to learn more how to do this that I'm currently doing. And yes, I've done this for 91 episodes. I've done it for almost a full year. Some people have actually contacted me heading into the new year saying, oh, well, you've been doing this for a year. Like, you must have great ideas at this, and you must be so good at this. And I think it's surprising when people will actually sit down and listen to me. They're like, oh, like, you're just like a normal everyday dude doing a podcast. And I'm like, yeah, like, I'm not a radio guy or anything, And it's something that I said to myself, I want to make an active attempt to get better at this. At this personally, this speaking into this microphone for an hour or whatever, making sure I stay more focused on what I'm talking about, which is something that this podcast has never been. This podcast has always just been basically me rambling for an hour, and I enjoy that. I think that's what makes this podcast so different and interesting, is the fact that you never know what you're going to get or what you're going to hear. And that's not a shot at any podcast, sometimes saying that I'm listening to a podcast where a guy clearly has notes in front of him or a script and is talking and is very fluent and knows what he's going and knows where he's going. I think that's great. And I think that's what most people enjoy. So it's something that I said to myself, maybe I'll try that more this year. Try to, even right now, I have some notes in front of me for what I'm talking about. And it's funny because I always said I would never do that. But just heading into this year, I'm like, you know what? No, I want to get better at this. Something as production. Luckily, I have this awesome new program I'm using for my recording, and it's going to make it a lot easier to get better at production. I have moved on from Audacity, which is Audacity served me very well. I'm sure I will still use it once in a blue moon for something, because it's just so easy to use. But it's funny, the second you get like a better software, and I have some pretty damn good software now. Thank you, Brother Brown, producer of the Hotter Show, ladies and gentlemen, hooked me up with some awesome software. Now I have this awesome software. It's so crazy, like to see, okay, here's my levels, and here's what I can do to fix that, and here's this effect that fixes this, and here's the levels, and blah 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 blah. Like learning all this is something that I really wanted to dedicate this year. So you might hear a lot of different stuff on the podcast this year. You might hear a lot. One week it might sound great. One week it might sound terrible. One week it might sound like way better than it ever has. One week it might sound kind of flat. I don't know. I'm going to try a bunch of stuff and just see, kind of see how it goes. Especially the next few weeks. You're going to definitely hear some differences. But learning a skill and that kind of thing. I mean, something like podcasting, it is a skill as far as I'm concerned. Sitting in front of a microphone like this and keeping someone entertained or entertaining someone enough to the point where they want to sit while they're doing something, or they're driving, or they're playing a video game or whatever, and they want to listen to you talk to keep them company or to keep them entertained while they're doing something. I think that's a skill, and I have so much respect for podcasters, other podcasters, and people who can really do that fully and can really draw you in and really, really make you want to listen to them. I feel like single podcasters like myself, obviously I do podcasts with my buddies and that kind of thing all the time as well, but for the most part, this is the Hotter Show, and it is me alone in front of a microphone a lot of the time. Those episodes I find are hit or miss. Some weeks I'll say, I think I was very engaging and I was drawing people in what I was talking about. Then other weeks I'll go like, this one was okay. I could have done this better. It's basically making a conscious choice and effort to be better at this, and watch how I'm speaking and watch how I'm pronunciating things and that kind of thing. Maybe I'll try and extend my vocabulary a little bit. I don't know. I spoke that on purpose, by the way. Vocabulary. Already got some people. What the hell is going on? It's funny. I sent an email last night at my work, and I don't know what was going on with me, but like I was using words I never use. It's like inadequate and like we will remedy this problem or whatever. And I got an email back, and this is just like, what the hell are you talking about? Like usually it's like, yeah, I'll fix this right on. And like last night I was just like, yes, I'm going to, this situation is very inadequate for what is possibly happening, and I'm going to make sure I remedy this as soon as possible. Yours sincerely, Terrence James Hotta. It's like, what the hell is going on? And I said, well, I've made a conscious choice this year to extend my vocabulary a little bit. And they're like, really? I'm like, whatever. It's just funny to me. But it's interesting talking about like skills and that kind of thing. I love how I said I was gonna try and be more on the straight and narrow when I'm talking about that kind of thing, and I'm still going off. But I think that's interesting. I think that's what this podcast is. It's Segway City, bitch. But even something as small as with this podcast is, watching my language more, depending on what podcast it is. I've been saying this for the last 80 damn episodes that I'm going to, basically since episode 50, I've been kind of trying to make a more conscious effort to, maybe only drop 1 or 2 F-bombs a podcast or not drop any at all. Because I feel like that's the word that everyone gets offended on. Not in anyone in particular, but just there was a situation that was kind of brought to my attention that there were younger kids listening to my podcast because of a topic I was talking about, and that one podcast in particular, I was dropping F-bombs left, right, and center, and I don't even know why. It was just, I was talking, and when I'm doing this podcast, I always say, I treat this podcast like I'm just having a conversation with somebody, like I'm just talking with one of my buddies, because that's what we are, guys. We're buddies, we're friends here. And when I'm hanging out with my buddies and we're shooting the breeze, I'm dropping F-bombs and swearing left, right, and center. That's just how I talk. I talk like a sailor. I'm not necessarily proud of that fact, just for the record. But when I'm talking about a topic, when I'm really into what I'm talking about and I'm really engaged in what I'm speaking about, like most topics I generally talk about, I find it hard sometimes to turn that off, if you will, to make that conscious effort to say, hey, I'm going to switch off my swearing right now, and I'm going to focus on trying to use more intelligent words. For example, there's an F-bomb coming up. If I say, oh, this is fucking stupid, I might say, I always use this as an example at work, this is very undesirable. Or I might say, this is even something as simple as just, oh, this is pooey. Like, it's just, this is stupid. Instead of having to drop that F-bomb, just, it's a punctuation on what I'm talking about. And depending on what I'm speaking about, that might need to be said, in episode 34, which I shared there a couple weeks ago. It's kind of like one of the critically acclaimed episodes. That's one that a lot of people go back to and say that that's one of their favorites. But that was one where I was just left, right, and center. I was going off. In the title, literally, I drop an F-bomb in the title. And it's funny, like stuff like that I think is great, and I think it's funny. But when I'm talking about Pokemon Go, and I'm dropping F-bombs left, right, and center for no apparent reason, it's like, you know what? No, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be known as that guy who can't control his language. So it's making this conscious decision and effort to better myself by that. And I know a lot of people have had that kind of a vibe in the new year as well. They want to work on that, or they want to work on something as simple as, oh, I'm behind on my taxes or something, and I want to get up on that. I want to make this better. And I've had this project I've been working on for years and I haven't finished it. I'm going to finish it this year. And it's just making that conscious decision to find something about yourself that you would like to better, and that you would like to make that conscious effort to, fix about yourself, if you will, without being cynical about it. If you see that you have quote unquote flaws, which I think are very selective to people, someone might see something as a flaw, and then someone else might see it as just a part of your personality. I swear a lot. I get grumpy and angry a lot. I have little temper tantrums. Unfortunately, that is my personality. It's a part of my personality I'm not necessarily a fan of. But people just say, oh, that's just you, buddy. Like, you're just, you're not a grumpy brother, but just, you have times where you're a bit of a grump and you get in your moods and we just leave you alone. And I'm like, that's something I can fix though. So like I said, that's something I'm going to try to not fix, but just make a conscious effort to try and be a happier person overall. And I know a lot of people heading into this year with those kind of ideas as well, but I still have a lot more I want to talk about. I want to talk about my main New Year's resolution this year and why it's going to be so hard for me. I want to talk a little bit more about the cliche of New Year's and that kind of thing. But first, I guess, let's say hypothetically here for a second that you have a business, you're in a band, you're a podcaster like me, you have a YouTube show, and you need some awesome new merch, business cards, logos, even maybe some t-shirts done up. Well, you need to look no further than my man, Mr. Jason Reese, over at Jaybird Digital Arts. Jason is offering a special 10% off discount just for listeners of The Harder Show when you mention The Harder Show upon contacting him. But what exactly does he do? Well, Jason does t-shirts, posters, album design, tickets, photo manipulation. You guys still with me? Advertising, business stationery, mailers, brochures, fine art, and anything else you can imagine, Jaybird Digital Arts can create it. Jason has done all of the t-shirts, logos, banners, and all social media stuff for both The Harder Show and for Harder Guitar Services, so I can promise that you will love and be inspired by what Jason comes up with. You can contact him on the web at www.jaybird, that's Jaybird, digitalarts.com, or you can search for him on Facebook and Instagram under the Jaybird Digital Arts handle. Search hashtag Jaybird Digital Arts for a look at all of his awesome and unique work. All right, so as I mentioned before, my little Jaybird break there, I was gonna say it's funny. Heading into the new year, there's definitely some changes I've made to the podcast. Some people were like, why are you kind of making a conscious effort now while you're podcasting to mention that you're going to stop to do something, or you're going to word from our sponsors or whatever. And for more, that's just me breaking up what I'm talking about. But I think it's interesting because some people are like, hey, like that's kind of weird that you're doing that. Like most podcasters don't do that. You never used to do that. It's just me trying to make things sound a little more put together, if you will. But I was going to say, before we get a word from our sponsors, and it's just one sponsor. It's Jaybird Digital Arts. So it's funny how yes, our sponsors, and it's just my man Jason. But I think having the new discount is very cool. I think it makes everything seem like a little more of a professional sponsor, if you will. So I'm really a fan of that, and that he was so cool. That he was so cool and willing to do that. But anyways, getting back into what I was talking about before the break, we are talking about New Year's resolutions, of course. And before the break, I talked about, different types of New Year's resolutions I'm seeing this year. I've talked a little bit about some things about myself that I've kind of made New Year's resolutions. And it's funny, the cliche of New Year's and New Year's resolutions. I know that so many people have, I always see people posting, oh, why wait till the new year to make yourself better? Or why wait until, the new year to start working out? Why not start working out now in November? Or, that kind of thing. And I agree to a point. You shouldn't wait until a certain time to better yourself, or to, how can I say this? To make a conscious effort to get healthy, or that kind of thing. You should want to do that all year round and all the time. But I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing that people are going out of their way to want to get better. And if they're waiting until the new year, I think that's a bad thing. That means that they have a fresh calendar year to start, and they start keeping track of things. Whether it's quitting smoking, and they're crossing each day off their calendar, and they know once they get to that kind of 2-week, 3-week period, they're starting to beat it, and they're actually making a difference. It's one thing if you're like, oh, I'm going to quit smoking, and you're like, oh yeah, I'm 3 days without smoking. Hell yeah. It's like, that's not like, to some people that's a big accomplishment, and that's great. And I don't want to take anything away from that, but, someone like myself, who has a big New Year's resolution this year of something I'm giving up, which is going to make a lot of people laugh when I do discuss it. But I don't think it's cliche to want to wait until a certain time period where you can really see the physical results of what you're doing. If you start something in January, and then okay, by like March or April, I should either start feeling better, or I should start seeing results, or whatever it is. If you're like, hey, I want to give up smoking starting January 1st. Once the clock hits midnight, you have your last cigarette. toast the new year, and then that's it. And you say, I'm not having another cigarette ever again in my life. And you can say at midnight on New Year's, I gave this up. And some people need that kind of idea of a fresh start to give something up or to want to better themselves or something like that. I don't think that's a bad thing. I understand why people say it's cliche to want to wait. But, I'm one of those people, that likes to wait, that likes to say, okay, this past year, a lot of things became very apparent to me about myself, like I said before the break there. And one of which, I started off last year. I've always been a big guy. That's me. That's my life. I've joked around about it 100 times in the podcast, but at the end of the day, I accept who I am. I make a conscious effort to be comfortable in my own skin. But for me, it's a health thing. And something that became very apparent to me last year was just how much pop I drink. And you guys are going to laugh, and I'm sure that people who know me are going to laugh and laugh like, oh, you think? Goddamn, back in the day, even when I was at gigs, I know that Mr. Mav Smart can attest to this. Brandon Hastings can attest to this. I was drinking Sprite and Coke and Diet Coke and Diet Pepsi like it was going out of style. I drank that like water. Mav would show up every day with a bottle of Sprite for me. And I probably would have already had 2 before that, and it's funny. I look at it and I go, oh, I don't drink it that much. I might drink a bottle or 2 a day or whatever, it's not that much. And then when I started working at the travel center, I have access to pop whenever I want it. Well, pretty much whenever I want it. And one day, I just said to myself, you know what? I'm going to keep all the cups I drink of pop today. And, there was like 6 or 7 cups of pop when I was done. That might be a bit of an exaggeration, but there was at least like 3 or 4 cups of pop. Small cups, but still cups. I kind of went, oh my God, like I'm drinking like 3 or 4 cups a day of pop while I'm here. And then this is the messed up part, guys. Then I would go home and I would drink, 3 or 4 cans of pop. And it's like, what the hell is going on? Like, why am I letting this happen? It's not anyone's fault. It's my own fault. I can't do anything in moderation, and this is something that's, I've become very apparent about myself the last couple of years is, if I'm going to order a pizza, I'm going to sit down and start eating that pizza. I'm probably going to eat that whole pizza, even if I don't want to, because I can't stop myself. I wouldn't say it's an addictive personality. That's what I used to say. It's just, I don't know how to do anything in moderation. If I'm going to sit down and play a video game, I'm going to sit down for like 2 or 3 hours and play a video game. I'm not going to sit down for half an hour or play a level or do a quest and then go, okay, I'm going to go do something. It's like, I can't do anything in moderation. And again, this is not me being cynical. This is just me speaking truthfully about it. So I said to myself heading into this new year, a couple years ago, I actually gave up pop completely. I quit it cold turkey heading into the new year. Well, I shouldn't say cold turkey because I started off the new year. It was like January 3rd or 4th when I decided to go off it. Here I am saying like it's like alcohol or a drug. But to some people and to me now, pop is like a drug. Like it's the aspartame that kills me. You know what I'm saying? I will come home and I've had a long day and some people would grab a beer. I would grab a Diet Pepsi. I'd be at work and I'd be stressing out about something and, I'd grab a Diet Coke or Diet Pepsi or something. And it was just this big joke, like, and the amount of money that I was spending on pop and on Mountain Dew kickstarts and that kind of thing. Like, it was just hilarious, and it was like a big joke, you know? Instead of me saving that extra, $5 or so a day that I was spending on a bottle of Diet Pepsi and a Mountain Dew kickstart, because that was basically how I started every shift, not all the time, but I at least buy a kickstart, or I wait until the middle of the shift or whatever. And it's like, man, every single week I'm spending $5 a day almost. Not every day, but at least the days that I was at work, I'm spending at least $5, sometimes more. If I bought 2 bottles of Diet Pepsi, or, it's a 2 bottle of Diet Pepsi day today, or whatever. And it seems so normal to me. And it wasn't until I kind of looked at it and went, you do the math real quick, guys, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, possibly 30. I'm like, God damn, I'm spending $25, $30 a week extra that I don't need to be spending on pop. I'm like, look, I don't need this to survive. I am not well off enough in my life that I can afford to blow $30 a week on something I don't need. And I'm like, you know what? No, I'm gonna stop this dead in its tracks. And when I gave up pop before, like I said, it was like the 3rd or 4th of January a couple of years ago, and it was actually Sam that said to me, like, you're gonna give this up, like, you're gonna quit this because I won't do it for me. And I was like, no problem, I'll do it for you. And I did for, guys, I want to say it was 9 to 10 months, and I had maybe 3 glasses, like small glasses of Diet Pepsi in that span of 10 months. We'll say 9 for the sake of argument. And, it sucked. I mean, the first week, it was just awful. I was like in pain. It sucked. You guys know, if you guys have ever given something up, it sucks when you're used to something. It's not even necessarily the fact that, like, I was going through withdrawal or anything, even though I was, but I'll talk about that in a minute. But it's just when you have a routine, I would, this is interesting. Most people, they would get up in the morning, they'll have a coffee, and then they'll head into work. They might grab a coffee on the way, and me personally, I was the kind of guy who, I wouldn't drink pop the second I woke up in the morning, all the time anyway. But I'd head into work and I'd get my pop for the morning or for the day. And it's crazy. It'd be like 5 in the morning sometimes. I'd already been up for about an hour or two, and I'd get like going to work early. Like, I'm going to get a bagel or whatever. And then, I'm going to grab a Diet Pepsi too. And like, sometimes people I work with, like, they would just kind of look at me like, it's 5 in the morning. Why are you getting a pop? And I'm just like, oh, well, I'd always justify it like this. I'd say, oh, well, you drink coffee, don't you? Yeah. Well, to me, it's the same thing. Ha ha ha. And it's like, no, it's not. Like, you have a problem, because when your body's craving aspartame at 5 in the morning, that's an issue. Like, that is a problem. If you're craving that syrupy sugar at 5 in the morning to the point where, like, you're going to be grumpy as hell if you don't get it, man, that is an issue. Like, that is a problem. You got to figure that out. And, I kind of near the end of last year, I was getting better with it. I wasn't drinking it as much. So then when I kind of got near the end of the new year, Sam's always trying to, in a good way, better me, when it comes to stuff like that. And, she's like, hey, like, do you think you gave us another shot? And I said, yes. And I'm going to tell you why it's going to work this time, because I want to do this. Whereas last time it was like, I was kind of doing it for her, but then I want to do it for me as well. But it started off being a thing I was doing for her. And she knows that. And I think that's why it didn't work, because when I finally, I was 9 months or 10 months in, there was a bottle of Diet Pepsi downstairs in our apartment, and I was home alone, and I have no willpower. And what do you think happened, guys? It's sitting there, and I went, oh, like, it's half drank already. Like, no one's going to know if I have a sip of it, just to kind of, ease my nerves, which is hilarious. The fact that I thought that, and just for some reason, I couldn't help myself. And, I had a quick swig of it. And at that point, it had been like 5 months since I had any. And like, I could like feel it like flooding through my veins. And I was like, aspartame. And, I drank the rest of the bottle, and then I went upstairs and stole the bottle from my parents. And Sam comes home from work and like there's 2 empty bottles of Diet Pepsi sitting there. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm drinking pop again. And like, it was like, oh, well, you made it 9 months. And it's just, I think it was a very conscious choice that I made, when I made the decision to drink it again. But I think what's different this time around is it's a very conscious choice, the fact that I'm making to not do this anymore. And, maybe that's why it's going to be different this time around. I don't know. We'll see what happens. It's going to be very interesting to see how this goes. But it's all leading to me, my pop intake, my pop intake. A little bit of stuttering there. That's okay. My pop intake, said the panda, I felt like was my most unhealthy thing. Now, some people who know me are going to chime in and go, hang on a second though, buddy. The other day I had this awesome burger from this awesome burger joint called Burger Delight. And I had like this burger. It was like the Bacon Beast. The Bacon Beast. And it was like, 2 patties and bacon and cheese and it was just the best thing in the world. It was so good. Shout out to Burger Delight. Amazing place in Bowmanville if you guys are looking for a good burger. Anyways, and people would say, that's the most unhealthy thing you do is, you'll go out for dinner or you'll go out for lunch or something and you'll get the bacon piece instead of getting like, a regular burger or getting a salad. And I'm like, okay, yes, you're right. You're right. And eventually that's the goal I'm working towards is, I'm starting with pop because I feel like that is my absolute obsession. And I feel like a lot of my sugar intake and that kind of thing comes from pop. I can pretty much guarantee you it does because of how much of it I was drinking. But then, it goes into other things. I'm someone who I have to take baby steps. If I just decide, starting into this year, I'm going to completely cut out pop and like fried foods and fatty foods. And I'm going to do nothing but eat salad and, that's just what I'm going to do. I know damn well it's not going to work, guys. And people would say, well, how would you know? You haven't tried. And I go, yes, I have tried, and it never works for me. I'm not the kind of brother who can just quit stuff cold turkey like that. Then I hear someone chime in, oh, but TJ, how come you're quitting pop cold turkey? As I said that, I'm mimicking someone's words with my hand. And I say, this is going to work because of 3 reasons. 3 reasons here, guys. Number 1, I'm consciously wanting to do this. I'm consciously making this choice. I said to myself in like October, I'm going to drink all the pop I want while kind of slowly starting to phase it out and switch to like iced tea, which people would argue that's not any better. Shut up. I don't care right now. Just leave me alone. And I'm going to slowly start phasing into that more. And I'm going to start drinking more water and more good juices and that kind of thing. To the point where I wasn't craving aspartame all the time. I was cutting out diet pop too, heading into the new year. To the point where, I think I had my last diet pop with aspartame, which is the main thing. When I say diet pop, the reason I'm saying that is because it's the aspartame. I had it New Year's Eve. Not New Year's Eve. It was the 30th, so New Year's Eve day. New Year's Eve day. I had like a Diet Pepsi and rum, which was like my alcohol drink of choice. Aspartated rum. And I had it and I put it down, and that was the last bit of pop we had in the house. And I just turned to Sam and I said, that's it. No more. No more. I'm done. And she was kind of like, yeah, okay, you know. And it's good. That's what my girl does. She keeps it real. You know, I'm currently like, you know, marking off on the calendar each day that passes. And I feel like it's helping me because I'm physically seeing the progression I'm making. And she's like, you know, talk to me in like 6 months. Like, and I'm like, yeah, like that's good. I'm glad that she's like that because it's going to push me to continue with this healthy life choice that I have made, this healthy New Year's resolution that I have made to give something up. Now, like I said, people are going to argue, well, TJ, if you're just replacing it with iced tea, that's not any better. I agree. But hear me out for a second. My plan, here's my approach. Here's my plan of attack. Cutting out the actual pop itself, because pop is extremely unhealthy. I'm not going to say I'm a high horse. Oh, yes, pop is very unhealthy. I gave it up 2 weeks ago. I'm not saying that. But just when you realize just how disgusting pop actually is, you're just drinking this syrup that like can help corrode rust off metal and has all this stuff in it, and you're just like, why am I doing this? Like, like when you get to it, and I'm at the point now where, you know, I like saw pop the other day, and it like kind of grossed me out. Like I was like, no, I'll stick with my water, you know, or my Nestea Zero or whatever, which does not have aspartame, just for the record, because a lot of diet pops and diet drinks and that kind of thing will have aspartame in them. But it's interesting because I have another reason why I feel like this is going to work. I don't feel like I know it's going to work. The main reason being that I actually want to do this. The second reason being that I have a good friend of mine who went through this same thing already to a much larger extent, because he's that kind of person who he can just quit stuff cold turkey. And that's my man, Mr. Brandon Bowden, producer of The Hotter Show, the Kevin Dunn of The Hotter Show, ladies and gentlemen. He gave up pop, he gave up fatty foods and all this stuff last year. And he, you know, working out every day, 7 days a week, you know, and he made this incredible transformation, you know, and, you know, I loved the guy before. I still think of him as the same guy. It's not like he's changed or anything. Just he made a conscious decision to better himself and be healthier. So I'm like, right on, bro. Like, that's awesome, you know. And in a way, it's almost been an inspiration to me because I go, you know what, if he can do this, I can do this. And, you know, he was pushing me last year to kind of do the same thing because he knows, he's like, you're going to feel so much better. You're going to have more energy naturally. You're going to wake up with more energy and that kind of thing when you cut all that crap out. And, you know, he is right. I know I'm only 2 weeks in and I know I have a long way to go. But, you know, I knew once I got to that 2 week mark, I'm like, okay, like I'm past it now. And I went, okay, I'm at the 2 week mark. I know I've made it 2 weeks. I know that that is a big accomplishment. And I know that that is going to, I'm going to look at that and go, wow, I made it 2 weeks. I feel better. I feel like all the crap is out of my body now. It's actually been longer than 2 weeks. It's funny that I say that. As this podcast is being recorded and put up, it has been actually longer than 2 weeks, but it's like, no, guys, it hasn't been actually 12 days. It's actually been like 15 days. So, I mean, come on. But it's just, I'm proud of myself for it, you know, because right around the 2 week mark last time I did this, I was like losing my shit on everybody. And I was so grumpy and I was getting headaches and I was agitated and it made me not want to do this. And whereas now I'm like, you know what? No, I want to do this. This is something that's, you know, I'm making the conscious decision that I want to do this and I want to better myself. And I think it's going to work. And the number one reason why I think it's going to work, aside from the fact that I have an amazing support group around me, my girlfriend's very supportive, my friends are very supportive. You know, I have people who are kind of going to check me at work. I have friends at work that, you know, if they see me going for that pop, I told my one buddy, Mr. Dan Johnson, I said, buddy, if you see me going for a pop, if you see me like pick up a cup of pop in it, literally smack it out of my hand. Like, I don't care where we are, smack it out of my hand, bro, because at first I'm going to probably lose it on you. But then I'm going to look and go, okay, thank you, bro. Like, okay, you're right, yes. Because it'll snap me out of it. Because then I'll have to clean it up. So it's like, I said the same thing to my other buddy I work with. I'm like, bro, like, if you see me with a pop in my hand, just smack it out, obviously somewhere discreet. You know, if I'm up in the break room at work and I have a pop, like, smack it out of my hand. Because then I know I have to clean it up. And I will clean it up, make me clean it up. And it's just like, well, my buddy's like, bro, like, you're going to, like, scream at me. I'm like, yes, I am. Because I'm going to be mad that you just did that. But then I'm going to think about it. And I'm going to say, like, bro, thank you. Because that's a true friend who will check me. I know all my buddies are going to check me. All my buddies on the podcast are going to check me. And it's like I said, it's the number one reason why I know this is going to work is because it's going to be accountability. I am now, because I've spoken about this on the podcast, and I've told you guys about this, I'm not only now accountable to my girlfriend, my family, my friends, my close friends, my work colleagues, whatever. I'm now accountable to you guys as well. The people who listen to this podcast, my friends who listen to this podcast, because I consider you guys my friends. You guys aren't just listeners or whatever. I'm accountable now, and I think that's going to work. And if there's a back step, I'll talk to you guys about it. You know, and it's funny that people are saying, like, you're taking this pretty seriously. It's just pop, man. Holy crap. But to me, I have to, because it is such an unhealthy obsession for me. I mean, guys, like, you come over to my house and saw the amount of, you know, Sprite and Diet Coke cans and Coke Life cans and stuff that was in my recycling every week. Not healthy. And this is all leading into, eventually then I want to give up, you know, fatty and fried foods. Not give them up completely, because I feel like I would just be the worst person in the world to be around if I completely gave them up. But it's just making better choices. And then eventually, you know, I want to start going to the gym. I want to start making an effort to really make myself healthier, because I don't feel healthy anymore. And that's why I've made this decision, and that's why I'm starting with this. And I'm talking to you guys about it so I can be accountable to you guys, and I can talk about how, hey, let's do a podcast on New Year's resolutions, so I can kind of transition it into me talking about my New Year's resolution and basically asking you guys in the sense of to help me, if that makes any sense. I am accountable to you guys now. I'm accountable to everybody in my life. I can't come on here and bullshit and lie and say, oh, yes, my pop is doing great. I have not drank any. Because then, you don't never know who's going to listen to the podcast. Someone goes, hey, man, you're lying. You're lying. I saw you in the parking lot of Tim Hortons the other day in Newcastle, and you were chugging back a Diet Pepsi. You're lying. And then I'm like, oh, no, like, I lied. I suck. So it's just like, everyone be aware of it. You know, there might be days where I come on and I'll be just complaining more than usual. Might be a bad day for DJ there. But it's being accountable, and it's when you choose a New Year's resolution and you go through with it and you actively make that decision. Even if you start a New Year's resolution and by now it's kind of fallen to the wayside, that's okay. Don't get discouraged. This 2-week mark, even though it technically has to be more than 2 weeks, for a lot of people is when stuff starts to fall off. I know that's what happens with me personally. I know that's what happens with a lot of people when they'll go get a gym membership like the first day of January. And by the 2-week or 3-week mark, they might stop going because they get discouraged. Don't get discouraged. Keep going. Let's all help each other out. You guys let me know what your New Year's resolutions are, and I'll do my best to help you out and keep you motivated. You guys do your best to help me and keep me motivated. All the things we want to do, whether it's wanting to better yourself personally wise, you want to kick smoking, you want to quit pop, you want to kind of work towards making a better life choices. You want to work towards getting better at something. You want to start a podcast. Man, you know how happy it would make me to have someone else I know do a podcast. It would make my life, because then I would have more people to talk to this about. Obviously, I got my my podcast buddies that I talk to this kind of stuff about, and I got the producer to talk about this kind of stuff, doing that kind of thing as well. But to have someone else who even if I don't know that well, who goes, you know what, I want to do a podcast. I think this is fun, or I want to do a YouTube show or whatever. hit me up. Let me know. If that's your New Year's resolution and you want to work towards it and you're maybe not sure what to do, let me know. I'm not that great at this. I have a lot of work to do. I have a lot of things I need to learn, which is another resolution for me this year. But, I have been doing this for a while. I know the basic ins and out of it. I know kind of how the community is. I know what sites to use to host and what not to do and how to get it on iTunes and how to do this and how to do that. And I do have knowledge of that kind of thing. So, or hell, if you want to quit pop with me or whatever, hit me up and say, hey bro, like I've quit pop too. Let's help each other out. Pop's Pop Anonymous. And that's not making fun of AA or anything at all like that. But like I said, to me, it's an addiction, and I'm trying to better myself this New Year's in 2017 by quitting that and mainly being more positive and working on my skills as a podcaster, my skills as a worker, and just overall being a better person. I think that's a very admirable thing to do, and I think that is a good place to end off for today on the podcast. So thank you guys so much for tuning in and clicking that play button on today's episode of the podcast. Really hope you guys enjoyed it. This is my first solo podcast of the year. I had my notes and I had all this stuff I want to talk about. I'm very passionate about this, so I really hope you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully I was engaging. Let me know what you guys thought of this podcast. Let me know also, like I said, your guys' New Year's resolutions. We can help each other out. There's some different stuff I'm doing production wise. I have my little wall that I have set up. You guys may have seen on my on my Instagram. I got this little kind of desktop isolation wall. So I'm curious if it's really going to make a difference or not. I don't really hear a huge difference myself. But I know the producer Brandon Bowden, the Kevin Dunn of the Harder Show, has said that he does notice a little bit of a difference. So that's cool. Let me know what you guys think of the production, that kind of thing. We're trying some new stuff. So it really means the world to me. You guys take the time to listen to this podcast and give me feedback at all. Even if it's not good feedback. If you say, hey man, I don't know what you did, but it sounded not great, or it was clipping a lot, or whatever it is, let me know. I love feedback. So either way, guys, thank you so much again for tuning in, regardless of how you were listening. If you're listening on the SoundCloud, be sure to follow The Harder Show to keep up with everything that is going on. Be sure to like this track, comment, and of course, keep an eye out for everything that's going on. All the archived podcasts should be in playlists very soon. I'm basically waiting until I get to episode 100, or episode 99 technically, to get the from episode, I think it was 60, episode 6. I'm going to do episode 60 to 99 because I'm kind of doing that every 30. But episodes 1 through 60 are in playlists. They're broken out from episode 1 through 29 and then 30 through 59. And I'm going to have more of those going. There's still some cool, exciting things coming up for the Harder Show. We've got the 100th episode coming up very soon. There's some cool stuff for that. I'm very excited to get you guys hyped on. I'm probably going to start that next week, kind of getting the hype together. Haven't decided 100% what we're doing, but we're probably doing a live cast, so be sure to keep an eye on that. Everything will be updated through the Harder Show Facebook, but if you guys are listening in on the YouTube, be sure to keep it locked there. Subscribe for any update videos. Gaming videos, I've been doing those more. All the podcasts are up there. Be sure to leave a like and dislike on this video depending on what you thought of it. Of course, comment your life away in the comment section. And last but not least, if you are listening on the iTunes, did you guys know is the easiest way to listen to the Harder Show? Be sure to subscribe to keep with everything that goes on the iTunes. Once you subscribe, guys, you don't even have to think about it. Every time a new episode is uploaded, it is automatically downloaded to the device of your choosing, whether that is your iPod, your iPad, your iPhone, your Mac, whatever it is. But of course, if you are on the iTunes, be sure to maybe check the Harder Show out in the iTunes store. Maybe give us a little rating, even if it's not a 5-star rating. Obviously, I appreciate the 5-star ratings. I would love to get that 10 into maybe a 15 this year, maybe a 20, that's another goal. Definitely want to expand the show more. But every 5-star rating we get, the better we do on the iTunes charts. Because as of right now, if you search for the Harder Show, obviously we pop right up. But if you search for us in the comedy section, which I think I have us under right now, because there's no actual just podcast section. I go on and, I'm on the list. I'm not the last person on the list, but, we're somewhere where it's pretty easy to miss us. So the more ratings we get, the better we do, the better I do on the charts. So really appreciate all the support on that, guys. And of course, if you are on some kind of podcasting app that you're listening on, let me know what the app is so I can be aware of what apps The Harder Show is available on. We should be available on pretty much all of them, unless the people who run the app are being silly, not getting back to me or whatever, but that's a story for another time because I'm all out of time here. So thank you guys so much for tuning in again, and I will catch you guys next time on The Harder Show. Keep those New Year's resolutions going, guys. Peace.